Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. And as you said, yeah, it was kind of a challenge to come here. But I'm so happy to be here. And so I'm Davide Sala. I'm here. I even have a different job title. It's like technical art director. So it's a long story. But my background is in visual effects and animation. I worked for a long time on something like more than 15 Hollywood movies, some animated, some visual effects, and with clients like Marvel, Disney, Fox, you name it. And then I decided to do something different to push myself, and I always been really excited about brand new technology. So this is why I originally joined Facebook with Oculus, where I worked on the Oculus avatars and how to do you represent human in VR, as well as later on I started to work on the AR augmented reality effort that Facebook started a few years ago, now called Spark AR. So at Facebook, we believe that augmented reality will be the next big computing platform. When AR is fully realized, people will explore the world, express themselves, and connect with others with technology that will be deeply integrated with their lives and the world around them. So let's take a look at this video I'm going to present to you. And this is an experience that you can actually have today. Cool. So I love this video because it's not any movie magic. This is real. You can do this right now, today. So it is very exciting. Today's agenda is going to be quite a beefy one. So I'm going to talk about why Facebook is interested into AR. I'm going to talk a bit about our Spark AR platform and ecosystem. I will touch on Spark AR Studio. I will give it a shout out to our incredible community, as well as some best practices when making AR experiences. So, why AR? Why AR? So, you can answer it yourself as well. Why you are here? So, you are interested into this big, new, powerful thing, which is augmented reality. So, at Facebook, we think that having AR available to everybody when they can create but also experience AR is going to be a new rich and powerful new way to express yourself, share things with others, and connect people more closely. So we are building towards an augmented reality world where, as you can see from this image, you can do incredible things if you get the technology right. You can play chess with the friends on the other side of the world. You can augment you can get superpower. You know, because you're all here, you know what AR can be capable of. So, and this is like, picture this like 10 years from now, everybody can, if they want, they can wear a pair of glasses and they can be closer to this, let's say, this overlay, this additional layer of information, images, sound that can enrich your life day by day. So a few years ago, we announced that we are making the camera the first augmented reality platform. And there are two keywords from this quote. So the first, it is camera. So as we know, everybody has a camera in their pocket, and as the technology progress, and if we get the design and the tech right, you can easily realize that the camera is just going to be a window to another dimension, another world where you can add, as many things as you want. And as the technology progress, more people can access to more powerful phone, and the experiences can get richer and richer. The second keyword here is platform. So at Facebook, we have a motto, which is lead with community. And what I mean by that is that we cannot do this alone. So we want to give the opportunity to everybody to experience and create AR. And this can give you a lot of leverage in the way of diversity of experiences, as well as use cases. And somebody was mentioning in some previous presentation about that we are all different. So if everybody is able to create their own experience, it will be great for everyone. So we launched this platform 2 years ago, and our path, as you can see, we want to get to an head-worn, universally available AR, possibly headset, and we are currently there. So there is a long way to go before you can experience AR in the way you see in movies. But in this, in the last 2 years, we have been setting down the foundation to what this experience may look like, and but it's not really linear as you see here. It is more, let me see, something closer to this. And there are a lot of unexpected turns. Think about that our platform can reach so many people, and they have different devices, different operating systems, different, I really loved the previous presentation where they were talking about how diverse we are and how we have to make sure that we get this technology right. But it's also what it makes it exciting as well. So this is why we created Spark AR. So Spark AR is our ecosystem, our platform to create AR experiences. And before diving into that a bit more, I would like to show you another video. Awesome. So I want to really thank the marketing team for this video and the agency that did that, because it kind of really represents what Spark AR is. And we just launched this a few days ago. And we got an incredible response out of it. So let's talk about Spark AR. So Spark AR is this platform where you have our tooling, our tool called Spark AR Studio, where you can create AR experiences. Then we have our cross-platform engine, which is a 3D engine that can run across multiple operating systems like Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and you name it. And it does support JavaScript runtime, computer vision, algorithm, advanced rendering techniques like physically based shaders, and so on. The third point from our ecosystem is this distribution platform, which is incredibly important. You can have the best technology out there, the best intent. It can be even cross-platform, but if you don't have channels to easily distribute your experience, nobody's gonna experience that. So we have this distribution platform that we call it Spark Hub, which is a web tool that will let you submit your effect. This effect then gets reviewed, and you can add, a category to it, and so on. You can manage versioning, and also you can measure your experience. We are providing, insight and all that good stuff, but I will dig more into that later. So let's start with Spark AR Studio. This is our definition of Spark AR Studio, which is a modern compositing and prototyping tool for AR. So I highlighted those three words because I want to explain why we have this statement. So Spark AR Studio is a modern tool, which means that it has been built from the ground up. It's not a 3D software that leverage on old technologies, and it is something that is really made on purpose to make the best AR experiences possible, as far as look, as far as optimization, easy way to distribute and send out the final experience to device, and so on. So compositing is, as I mentioned before, there are so many great 3D tools out there. So Spark AR Studio is not a tool that will let you build your own 3D models or paint your texture or animate in it. It's a compositing. So you can bring assets that you built before, or we are also supporting integration with some great online library of 3D models. Or another great thing about compositing software is that you can, if you have done VR experiences before and you have these highly optimized assets, you can bring those assets easily and you can turn any VR experience into an AR. Let's think about like a VR pet game on application that you can have. You just need to remove the environment, place it in the world, and you're done. And prototyping is that, as you all know, AR is still in its infancy. So we want to give the people tools and elements to experiment with AR and prototype things quickly. And I will dig into that a little bit more later. So, but if you want to look at how an AR experience from creation to deploying looks like in Spark AR Studio, this is a great example. So as I mentioned before, you can build your experience in Spark AR Studio. You can test it directly on device, and we have multiple ways to do that. You can connect a USB cable. Let's say that you are on top of a mountain and you don't have internet connection. You can easily connect a USB cable and drop your experience on your favorite device, either being an iOS or Android. And we do provide a companion app called Spark AR Player on the App and Play Store. Or we also have recently added in-app testing. So through AR Studio, if you have an internet connection, you can pipe your experience directly through the app. And the benefit about that is that you can test it with let's say, with the Instagram interface. So if you're placing some element in your scene, you can move it and you can make sure that it works correctly with that. Then, as I mentioned before, we have the Spark AR Hub, where you can publish your experience and you can deploy it to, at this point in time, on Facebook and Instagram. And after you do that, you get metrics back. So currently, we are giving you back capture, share, and impressions. They will help you, optimize your experience and taking it to the next level. I'm happy to announce that 1 billion people experienced AR on our platform. So a billion, so it's a lot. And I'm so happy about this number. So, but how did we reach 1 billion people? So the first point is that we want the tool and the experience to make AR development accessible to all people. So this is why we created Spark AR Studio. This is why it works on Mac, on Windows, even on lower spec hardware. So this is actually great. But it's not enough. We also really invested into capabilities. And by capabilities, we mean something that can empower relevant, context-aware experiences for people. And it sounds like a mouthful, but I will make it easier to grasp it. And distribution, again, extremely important. I often see in the AR space a lot of great ideas, but they don't have a distribution platform. All the reach is really low because you must download this app, you must do this, you must do that. So it's really, really tricky. And having Facebook helping you on that, I think, is an immense benefit. And I also want to mention that Spark AR is also the platform and ecosystem used on all the AR experience that you can have on Messenger and on Portal. So everything runs on Spark and even more. So ease of creation. As I mentioned before, we want to reduce the complexity for the creation of AR experience. And why we want to do that? Because the easier the tool is, the more diverse experience you can let people do. So not everybody is a 3D artist, a developer, so it's tricky. But we want to make that easy. And the way we make that easy is with a concept called layered complexity, an interface for everyone. And what I mean by that is that we have these 3 levels of complexity. So based on your skill set, you can still make beautiful AR experiences. So first level is the scene tree and inspector. So you will be able to drag and drop your 3D model, your 2D asset, and you can change few settings, and you're ready to go. The second level is the patch editor. So the patch editor is an incredibly powerful tool, and I'm really proud of this because first, it makes me not have to deal with code. So I'm in the movie industry. I was one of those artists closer to art than let's say scripting or developing. And so having the ability to create my own experiences and have an easy way to quickly have an idea turn into a reality by the patch editor, I think, is an incredible thing. And the patch editor is a node-based programming language where you have a big catalog of these patches, as we call them, and with them you can, let's say, detect if the user is tapping on the screen, is pinching, is rotating, as well as some logic patches to create some additional interaction and animation. You can deal with audio. You can track people's spaces and place 3D object in it. You can do a lot of different things. But if it is not enough, we also support scripting. And with JavaScript, you can, take your experience to the next level. You can create games with it. Some people made, just the other day from the community, we saw somebody porting Doom and rebuild not the entire game, obviously, but I think just the first level in Spark. So as an Instagram effect, you can click on that and you can feel the 90s nostalgia with that. Next. So this is how Spark AR Studio looks like. On the left, you can see this scene tree I talked about. On the right, let's see if this thing works. Yes, on the right, you see the inspector, which is once you select one of these objects on the left, you can iterate. And let's say that if you're playing with this robot, you can have what we call transformation. So you can move these robots around, rotate it and scale it. But in this case, what we are doing, we imported this as a complete asset, an animated robot. And on the bottom left, you can see what we call the asset panel, where you can import your texture, your materials, your animated 3D models. And at the center, you can see that with 4 patches, we are telling the system, every time I tap the screen, play this animation. And this is really, you don't have to code anything with it. So you can just do this in 5 minutes if you have your own asset. If you don't, we offer our AR library. And currently, we have a partnership with Sketchfab, where within Spark AR Studio, you can search for an object, let's say a skull, a pirate ship, a pair of glasses and hat. You can click a button, and that model will be properly imported with the 3D model, the texture, the animation, and you can easily start prototyping your own thing and that. This is like another exciting, really exciting feature that we recently added called blocks. So blocks are, let's call them a smart package where you can embed art, you can embed animation, but also logic. And this is great because you can reuse these blocks, and this will basically drop you can basically make this AR experience easily. And the great thing is that you are also able to share it with the community. So we have a lot of creators that maybe they are not artists, they are developers, but they are still heavily contributing to the platform by providing a lot of different blocks, or as we call them, patch asset or patch groups, which are this bundle of logic that will let you do different things. So this is like a nice animation that tells that you can compress this thing into a usable and a reusable package. But let's watch a video on how this thing looks like. So this is a prototype of a game. You know those endless runner. Even if this is not AR, but I think is a great example to let you understand how powerful these smart object or blocks are. So on the left, you can see a game block represented by this cube. And by selecting that, you can see you have few information that you can fill in. You can fill in a character sprite in the form of an animated texture, and a building sprite, again, as a texture. So I want to, and let me play the video. So as you can see, this user is selecting this nice image of this running cat, and boom, you see directly this cat being animated in the scene. And the second part is like deciding the look of the building itself. So this means that blocks unlock teamwork. So if you have an artist working on the art, they can easily, wait, hold on. This is also doing something else. So the user just added a score block, which is something that can display the current score. And if you drag the game block and connect it to the score, as you can see now, it automatically read the score and make this kind of little game project complete. So obviously, you need to create the logic for those blocks. But the great thing is that once you create the logic for the scoreboard, for example, and you build another game, you can just drag and drop that, and you're good to go, which is like incredibly useful. For example, you're going to see that in a video later on where I'm going to tell you how I use Block for my project. As I mentioned before, in-app preview is something that we also recently added, and is another thing that will let you prototype and test your AR experience fast and easily. So capabilities. What are capabilities? So we divide the capabilities into something that can augment yourself or augment the world around you. And for augmenting yourself, we have this world-class face tracking. And I'm calling it world-class because I also work on it. So I'm really proud of this technology. And the greatest thing about this is that it works on every single phone. You don't need to have a depth camera. You don't need to have the latest and greatest $2,000 phone. It works for everybody. And as I mentioned before, it has very high precision around eyes and mouth. It immediately shows up when you turn on the effect. And obviously, you can support from the hyper-realistic makeup to the fantastical. And the great thing about this face tracking is that it unlocks also commerce use cases, like if you want to promote your own brand of lipstick or makeup, you can easily do that, and the result is quite amazing. We also have some additional paper from, I don't know if you are familiar with SIGGRAPH, which is this very big computer graphic conference, and especially the last SIGGRAPH in Asia, we published a paper about the work of our Instagram team related to hyper-realistic makeup. It's a very interesting one. I do encourage you to check that out. Another incredible thing to augment yourself is hands tracking. So we do support hand tracking. We detect the bounding box, which is the area where your hand is. We support different poses, like you can recognize the hand even if it's still like in a fist or doing different gesture. And wait, go back. And the reason why a lot of people have been asking us why there is only one hand tracking, not two. Definitely we can do 2 hands, we can do 10 hands. The thing is that I want to mention that we really want everybody to experience this, and the most use cases are people holding their phone, and so you have just one hand free. So every time you see somebody using body tracking or 2 hands tracking, it doesn't really fit the use cases for the majority of people at this point in time. We'll see in the future when, devices like Portal and other things will use more of these advanced capabilities. But this is why I want to mention that we only have one hand in this case. Background segmentation. So background segmentation is the technology that allows the person or the pet in some of our cases to disconnect from the background. And usually this is done by expensive camera setup with a green screen or a chroma key technology, and this is basically running on your phone in real time without any extra hardware, and it's extremely powerful. So you can do, transport people with new destination. And I remember one effect from one AR experience from one of our creators called the burrito experience, where they just replaced the background with aluminum foil, like crumble aluminum foil around you, and you are like experiencing yourself as a burrito, which I think was like a very funny use case. A lot of other people are using it to do like these crazy experiences. And I want also to mention that this was the core technology used in Instagram focus mode. The effect where it was basically putting your background out of focus like a bokeh effect. Again, no need of an extra hardware. Everything was running with a single RGB camera and machine learning, which was an incredible achievement by the team. We also have plane tracker. This is something to augment your world. So we track an horizontal surface. We can anchor content in place. And this is also to go back on the idea of blocks. This is a block that I built where you can just drag and drop a 3D model into this block, and it will automatically generate all the, let's call them the expected interaction you may have while dealing with 3D object in space, like pinch to scale it, use 2 fingers to rotate the object in place, tap to place it, and so on. And once I do that, I also added this nice ring that can, add a little bit more to the presentation and to the experience. And I can just quickly replace the model. And let's say I'm a furniture company, I can just release 100 of them using the same core technology. So you don't have to redo that all the time. This is, I think, the most common use cases that you have been hearing about for ages, which is target recognition and tracking. So obviously we do support that because we want all the people familiar with, let's say, the previous generation of AR being familiar with this new modern tool, but as well be able to animate, a great piece of art, a poster. We did a great experience with Ready Player One, where we made one experience that was working across all the different versions of the poster. So if you had the Japanese version with all the different symbols, it was working as well as with the English one. And what else? Also, from the video you have seen before, we can also do show AR experience to specific location. And this is great when you are like at a concert and you can enhance and, let's say, find a reason to share what you're doing with your friends and your family. This is also another great use case. So yeah, show at specific location, location relevant, and that's it. There are like a way more capabilities, but time is quite limited here, so I'm just going to move to distribution and discovery. As I mentioned before, we want really to open up more channels where people will experience AR, especially on lower-end devices. And this is a screenshot of our Spark AR Hub, which is this web tool where you can submit your effect. And let me show you how it looks like. So you can fill some information like the owner of the effect or the Facebook page attached to it or the Instagram profile. You can, it's like when back in the days you were submitting apps to the different stores. It's about the same process, but with AR experiences. And you can see where are we going with this, So here you can upload your own icon, a demo video that explain how the experience looks like, and so on. And here, just a screenshot of this creator that uploaded just one effect. And as you can see from here, is currently under review. So we do make sure that the content on our platform is not offensive, that respect every different culture and diversity, and you name it. And we are really proud of the work that the Spark AR Hub is doing in this field. Another thing, just to highlight how important the discoverability of AR is the effort that Instagram has been doing in the last few months. So we recently opened up the beta to Instagram users, so now everyone can make AR experiences on Instagram. And we also created this additional let's call it entry points for people to experience AR. So if you have an approved and a published effect, and you go to a person profile, you will see this smiley, sparkly face. When you click on it, you can access to the gallery of all these experience these users created. In this case, you have our great Dan Moller that did these very popular effects, as well as somebody that just shared a story made with one of the AR experience. You have a call to action at the bottom. You can click also on the top, so you can experience the effect yourself and make new stories. But we are also providing through the Spark AR Hub a link, just a link that you can embed into a QR code. You can share it with your clients, with your friends, and once they click on that, they can experience the effect straight away. The camera on Instagram or Facebook will open automatically, and they will experience the effect. And I want to wrap up this part of the presentation with a shout out to our community. So enjoy this video, please. Cool. So we don't thank our community enough, but as we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we reach 1 billion people using our experience, not because of only the effort that Facebook put in the platform, but also we have, so many creators are like countless these days, and they do some amazing AR experience. Some of them have been featured on some very important magazines. They won awards recently for music videos made entirely in AR on Instagram. So this is like really, really, we had high expectation of what AR can accomplish on Instagram, but we have been really blown away by the result. And this is really changing how people are experience Instagram, and they are creating like a new art form. So we are almost done. I want to, so if you want to join us, it is very easy. You can download Spark AR Studio and join our Spark AR community on Facebook. But I want to give you some advices on how you can make an AR effect the best way possible to reach the biggest amount of people. So we have been doing AR effect, our community as well, for quite some time now. And we boiled down this learning into these 4 points. So first is that an AR experience should serve a real need. And what I mean by that is that a real need may be express my aesthetic. So we have this incredibly popular effect called Beauty 3000, which was also turned into a real makeup. Johanna has been also invited by Louis Vuitton on stage. It really became like something big for AR, I think. Or Nelson that created this piercing AR experience where you don't have to put them for real, but you can express your aesthetic with AR. Another thing that is really important is a picture, is I forgot. It's like better than 1,000 words, but I think words. But with AR is even more. You can express, in this example, you can capture how a person is feeling, or as simple as turning your favorite emoji into this, cloud of emojis that is gonna embrace you, and it can augment your feelings more. But and also important to get inspired and have fun. So these are two very popular effects that even if you don't have anything to say, by experiencing this effect by Chris Pelk, or I forgot his name, what is it? No, I forgot. I think he's Aaron. You can still say something and share it with friends. Also with friends is great. Come on, yes, make them laugh. So you have experiences like the one created by Luke Hurd, or you know, Albestio, like simply adding a pair of googly eyes, and as you know, googly eyes are always fun, as well as pickles. Or be part of something bigger than yourself. Like the Instagram team have been doing some amazing, very subtle but very effective Valentine's Day effects. And there is a reason why they are this subtle, and this will basically get us to the next point. Another thing that we really care sharing with friends is what we call cultural moment. So the effect on the right you can see is something that can celebrate the Dias de los Muertos made by Juampa. And this can lead us to this second point, which is an effect should get out of the way. So we know that people don't want to hide behind an effect. They want to be the hero. So this has to enhance the user. And these are, I think, great example on how you can use AR, and especially visual shaders on the first, to enhance the image. And by visual shaders are a category of patches. As we mentioned before, these are, you know, these little elements that you can put together and manipulate pixels, the input from the camera, and it is great because they are extremely light. So an effect like the one on the left may be as big as maybe 100K, so it's actually very optimized. Also, this is extremely important for branded effects. So we want AR experiences to feel as gift and not ads. So these are two great examples on the left of two effects made for the Coachella Festival and Game of Thrones. As you can see, there is no Game of Thrones logo, there is no Coachella logo, but again, the person is the hero here. And you know that's Game of Thrones, but you don't have to place an ad like you can see on the third example. And don't worry, that's like a fake. It's not like, we are not shaming like a real product here. And also because we noticed by research, by doing a lot of research, that young people don't really want to be, they want to be part of the, they want to feel like close to the brand and, for example, Game of Thrones, but they don't want to be the ad themselves. So, and also this is extremely important, make it easy and fun. So these are two great examples that, as you can see on the right, these are like laser eyes. They're even better with when sharing with the friends. See, they're like the laser are crossing. And on the left, you can see, this nice little 3D character that works on both front and back camera. So this is actually awesome. But, we do have these four main theme here, but also always it is important to think outside the box. So we say that because even if all the first 4 points are true, by making your effect following these 4 points, you increase the usability of your effect a lot. But there are also other kind of AR experiences that you use it once, but they get a lot of sharing because they are fun and unique and crazy and fun to experience that. For example, we have this optical camo effect by Mike Mann, which turns you into, if you remember Predator, the movie, it can turn you into, having this kind of a similar feeling to it. Or, this great effect from Mark Wakefield, which will turn you into a robot and show your real self. So yeah, in reality, there are like 5 points. Okay, last bit of the presentation here. I want to share with you some best practice related to the technology itself. So when you're using all these capabilities, the tools, and everything, what you have to do to make your experience the best. So, as I mentioned before, when you're doing word effect, please turn your content into blocks for maximum reusability. In this example, I made a block for a drop shadow. A drop shadow is something that really integrates your 3D content into the scene. And just jumping straight to the 4th point, always think about the composition. So when you're making an effect, think about how the object comes into the view. Don't just like poof, drop it there. But for example, here what I'm doing, I'm adding bubbles all around the scene. I'm making this little elephant trigger 2 different animations based on the distance between me and the object itself. And also, not in this particular use case, but you can use physically based materials to improve realism and add like realistic reflection, especially if you're doing location-based AR experience, where you can really capture an HDR map of the environment, then pipe it through the AR experience to increase the realism. Target tracker. So this is something I did recently for a colleague that presented at Oculus Connect 6. I took one of the most iconic thing in London, the red phone booth. And what I did, I created a composition that was triggered by the front face of the phone booth. So this is not using the plane tracker, it's just using the image of the phone booth. And the reason why it works this great is because the object is asymmetric, as I mentioned in the first point. Also, the target image is quite big, so there is less distortion. So if you're using a small target, sometimes you can have your content distorted. By using a big target, you can be in a better position. Also, outdoor tracking is extremely challenging because of the weather condition, the lighting condition, time of the day is very, very tricky. So I've seen a lot of use cases where they turn the original image into black and white, and they push the contrast to make it work better. And even better if your target image is in black and white as well. We have seen from our community some great example of effect made in Chicago, where this was this kind of punk concert going on, and there was this AR experience attached to it, which was great. And also, keep it simple and find alternative ways to highlight the subjects. Making an occlusion, it takes a lot of processing power. You can get into a lot of false positive. It doesn't work great from time to time. But in this case, I'm not using occlusion, but I used a visual shader, so a way to modify the input feed from the camera and turn everything in black and white and extract just the red color, which is like the prominent color of this great London landmark. So I'm going to briefly touch on the asset. So every time you bring a 3D asset in, try to keep the total triangle count below 50K. You can also add content with a higher triangle count, but people are not gonna experience your AR effect in the best way possible. Also, make texture as small and as visually acceptable and efficient as possible. What I mean by that is that if you're doing an AR experience where you turn your eyes into cat eyes, you don't have to make a very big texture, because you have to think about it's going to run currently on a screen phone, and the phone is small, so you don't need like a very big texture, even if you go very close to the camera. So it's extremely important, and it will make your effect very efficient. I want to tell a story about this. So when we announced the camera effect platform, as we call it originally, I made an effect. It was featured on the keynote by Mark on stage. It was called the Galaxy Effect. So the Galaxy Effect was this crown of stars floating around your head, and then when you were turning the camera and using the back camera, you were able to experience constellations and see like shooting stars and everything around you. So that effect was 18 megabytes, which is a lot. Our standard now is maximum of 2 megabytes on Facebook when you are publishing an AR experience, and 4 megabytes on Instagram. So the reason why we put those limits is because we want everybody to experience that, and not everybody in the world has the same connection speed. So another interesting story was that at one point we, as I mentioned, we worked and we made effect for some countries where they didn't have 3G. So we managed to make great AR effect under 300K, which was a great achievement. So, and the smaller the effect is, the more reach you're gonna get from it. So another point, a very important point here, and we are really almost done, avoiding piling up too many capabilities, like background segmentation, facial tracking. It can be a way simpler than that. And last point is optimize your effect takes time. This is by research and also by our personal experience. If you don't plan your effect ahead, this can really hit you when you're trying to publish something. So every time you think about an effect, start optimizing, as I mentioned before you're getting to the, before you're hitting the limit. And then you have to go back, tweak your own experience, make compromises. So if you think about all these points we talked about before on the, let's say, on the creation, on the concept of your effect, and on the technology side, I think you will be amazed by what Spark AR can let you accomplish. So again, you can find more about Spark AR on our website. You can join our Spark AR community, which is very active. I think I never experienced like a community this active. And so, is a pool of very talented people, and they do crazy creations. I remember I mentioned before somebody that recreated Doom in Spark, but there are some crazy things going on, and someone created an effect where it was turning you into a drill. So your face was shaped into the drill bit of a, you have to experience yourself. It's very fun. And we also get a lot of new artists joining our platform. For example, David O'Reilly recently is a very well-known artist in the game industry and more. They created an experience called It Is Always You. And I will, I will post the link somewhere. And I'm sure if you join our community, you're going to see that it got, I don't know how many likes and comments. It's really great. So thank you a lot for resisting and be part of this very long talk.